To most people, I look like most people. But on the inside, I feel chronic, widespread pain. Fibromyalgia may be invisible to others, but my pain is real. Fibromyalgia is thought to be caused by overactive nerves. Lyrica is believed to calm these nerves. I'm glad my doctor prescribed Lyrica. For some, Lyrica delivers effective relief from fibromyalgia pain and improves function. Lyrica may cause serious allergic reactions, suicidal thoughts, or actions. Tell your doctor right away if you have these, new or worse depression, unusual changes in mood or behavior, swelling, trouble breathing, rash, hives, blisters, muscle pain with fever, tired feeling, or blurry vision. Common side effects: dizziness, sleepiness, weight gain, swelling of hands, legs, and feet. Don't drink alcohol while taking Lyrica. Don't drive or use machinery until you know how Lyrica affects you. Those who've had a drug or alcohol problem may be more likely to misuse Lyrica. With less pain, I can do more. Ask your doctor about Lyrica. If you're eligible, you could pay as little as $25 a month.
Hello, everybody. So, if each of us had $1 for every time we saw one of these commercials between television programs, we'd all be rich. But have you ever found yourself feeling a little bit dumbfounded by direct-to-consumer drug advertisements like the one that I just read to you, due to the fact that they mention a series of complex and frankly frightening side effects such as depression, suicide, and even more stuff that stem from the drug? If yes, you're not alone. While I understand that all drugs have side effects, it's a little scary to be informed of a pain medication that could result in death while watching Saturday morning cartoons. Almost every time we turn on the television, we are exposed to one of these advertisements, thus why it is of paramount importance to gain awareness about the harmful nature of them. After studying direct-to-consumer drug advertisements last semester in a medical ethics class, I came to understand the risk that such advertisements pose to doctors and patients alike. Thus why I believe that these advertisements, which include celebrity endorsements of certain drugs, must be outlawed in the United States. So, direct-to-consumer drug advertisements hurt patients in various ways, with the first one being that these advertisements misinform patients by omitting important information. So according to one study, 82% of these ads made some factual claims and rational arguments for use of advertised drugs. However, only 26% of the ads described risk factors of causes of the condition, and only 25% mentioned prevalence. They also misinform patients by leading them to believe that health improvement comes from medications as opposed to adopting healthy behaviors such as a good diet and exercise. So these advertisements, which overemphasize the benefit of drugs, also harm patients by giving them the wrong idea about treatments, which may be explained by the fact that a 2007 study in the Journal of Health Communication found that the average direct-to-consumer television commercial devotes more time to benefits than to risks. So even if the risks are presented, they are often ignored because viewers focus on the images of healthy, happy, dancing people portrayed in the ads, thus leading patients to not only believe that the drug will be effective, which is often not the case, but they should also replace their old therapy with the newer one because it's better, again, which is often not the case. So these advertisements also harm patients because the drugs they promote are often introduced before the effects of such drugs can be comprehensively understood. So this can be explained by the fact that clinical trials required for FDA approval are typically not designed to detect rare adverse effects. So according to P&T, a peer-reviewed journal for formulary management, direct-to-consumer drug advertisements are also dangerous because they manufacture disease and encourage drug over-utilization. So these advertisements are not only encourage healthy people to believe they need medical attention for non-medical problems, but also lead people to ask for and get drugs they don't necessarily need, or ones that may be less effective than other treatment. So last but not least, the advertisements are dangerous to patients because they increase drug costs of which are already extremely high, and the new drugs being promoted through direct-to-consumer advertisements are often copycat drugs that might not differ in any significant benefits over older and cheaper medications. So direct-to-consumer drug advertisements are not only present a threat to the patients, but also to the doctors that are tasked with caring for such patients. So one reason for this is that advertisements make doctors feel like they need to prescribe medications when doing so is inappropriate. So when patients ask their doctor for drugs they saw on television, these requested drugs are usually prescribed, often despite doctors' reservations about treatment choice. So these advertisements put a strain on the fragile relationship that exists between doctors and their patients by changing the roles of each actor. So the advertisement not only pose the risk of diminishing a patient's trust in their health and care provider's clinical decisions, but also cause the doctors to defend their clinical authority to patients who have obtained quote-unquote evidence from such advertisements. It must also be noted that these advertisements hurt doctors because when they deny prescription requests, patient satisfaction is decreased and physician switching is increased. So, in one study, nearly half of the patients reported feeling disappointed about not receiving a requested medication. One quarter of the patients said they would try to change their physician's mind or get the drug elsewhere, and 50% said they were considering switching physicians. So, last but not least, patients asking about drugs that they've seen advertised on television or the internet waste physicians' precious appointment time because doctors must dedicate time to convincing patients that a requested drug is inappropriate. Data suggests that the average patient-doctor visit lasts between 16 and 21 minutes. So if discussion if discussion of an inappropriate prescription request needs to occur, this leaves little time for a doctor to address the more important issues, thus diverting time away from disease screening or examinations or preempt dialogue about healthy lifestyle changes or mental health issues. I do not believe that doctors should be forced to take on the roles of gatekeepers for advertised drugs rather than clinicians of evidence-based medication. So direct-to-consumer drug advertisements are harmful to doctors and patients for various reasons. The first one being that loose FDA regulations allow prescription drug advertisements to harm patients. According to researchers at Harvard University, the FDA does not approve prescription drug ads in advance, and its staff rarely ever issues warning letters to drug companies when their claims are false or misleading. So ads are submitted to the FDA only when they first appear in public, which means people see inaccurate ads before the FDA has had time to review them and seek corrections. So it must also be noted that the FDA does not limit the amount of money companies spend on advertising, nor does it require such companies to spell out exactly how the drug works, mention the cost, or note if there's a generic drug in the same class or a similar drug with fewer risks. Not only does the FDA fail to regulate the language in direct-to-consumer drug ads, but they also allow advertisers to select the major risks to be included, determine the order of which adverse effects are presented, and decide whether to include quantitative data or results in comparison to those of a placebo group. Perhaps the loose FDA regulations on these advertisements stem from the fact that these drug companies have a First Amendment right to commercial speech. Another reason why advertisements are harmful stems from the fact that viewers lack the necessary knowledge and skill set to assess the medical information in these ads, even if it is provided. So, perhaps the main reason that direct-to-consumer drug advertisements are so harmful is because pharmaceutical companies invest tons of money on them. Because Big Pharma has a lot of money to invest in ads, it is very skilled at marketing, saturation, and finding loopholes in the law. Direct-to-consumer advertisements prove to be very profitable. For every dollar a pharmaceutical company invests in advertisements to consumers, it brings up $4.20 in prescription drug sales, according to a recent Kaiser Family Foundation study. So, a firm that matches stars with drug companies and celebrities make advertising returns more lucrative. Drug companies that pay $200,000 to $1 million to include a celebrity in a product campaign receive $10 for every dollar spent, says Mick Kleber, who runs the Spotlight Health Celebrity Division. So as long as direct-to-consumer advertisements continue to increase demand, pharmaceutical companies will continue to invest big bucks into launching advertising campaigns regardless of whether or not the drug actually benefits potential consumers. If these advertisements remain profitable, and pharmaceutical companies will continue to pay for them and defend them on the basis that such marketing makes patients better informed about possible treatments and encourages them to visit their doctor's office for important doctor-patient conversations about health that might otherwise not take place. Now that you understand the causes contributing to the harmful nature of direct-to-consumer drug advertisements, you can take action to remedy such factors. It is time to take action and put your pressure on your congressional representative to outlaw all direct-to-consumer drug advertisements and celebrity endorsements of prescription drugs. I know you're probably wondering what can powerless college students like you and I do to make a change? There's actually a lot of ways that you can make your voices heard, with the first one being that you can start a petition on change.org to outlaw these advertisements. If you don't want to start a petition of your own, you can sign a petition that already exists and, if possible, even donate to the organization cause. You can also call or email your local representatives and voice your opinions in direct-to-consumer drug advertising. In addition, you could reach out to the American Medical Association, which is the largest doctors group in the USA, for help to mobilize. The organization has already condemned the provisions that protect pharmaceutical companies. So, rights to advertise prescription drugs directly to consumers, and that's why you may be able to work as a part of their mission to make a change. Last but not least, you can vote for candidates who exhibit a commitment to outlawing direct-to-consumer prescription drug advertisements, or at least implementing regulatory law that would remedy some of the problems with these advertisements. To conclude, you can make a change by starting a petition, making a call, casting a vote, or attempting to organize. What will you do to stop harmful direct-to-consumer prescription drug advertisements? So the United States and New Zealand are the only countries in the world that allow harmful direct consumer pharmaceutical advertisements. What will you do and what can we do together to change the practice in America during this presentation? I've talked about the negative effects of direct-to-consumer prescription drug advertising on patients and doctors, the reasons why direct-to-consumer advertisements have become harmful, and ways that you can help to remedy these issues. You know what to do. Make that call, sign that petition, cast that vote, and you have the ability to make a change. So what are you waiting for?